Welcome to the Explainer. In today's analysis, we're finally going to demystify what has literally become the absolute hardest choice for car buyers right now. We're cutting straight through the noise, no fluff, just the facts.
Look, if you're in the market for a new ride, you know buying a car has never been more confusing, right? You're staring down four totally distinct options: petrol, diesel, CNG, or EV. Each one has its fiercely loyal fans and, well, its harsh critics. But I promise you, by the end of this explainer, we're going to help you find your perfect match, based entirely on your actual day-to-day habits.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start by breaking down the four car fuels, then move right into running costs and maintenance. After that, we'll look at performance and convenience, explore environment and future trends, and finally, we'll reveal your perfect car match.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the four car fuels, and understanding the basics.
Let's start with the traditional engines we all grew up with. Petrol uses spark plugs to ignite the fuel. This gives you a really smooth, light engine, which makes it absolutely ideal for that stop-and-go city driving. Diesel, on the other hand, operates without spark plugs. It uses high-pressure combustion, and that mechanical difference is key. It gives diesel high torque, or pulling power, basically making it an absolute workhorse for those long-distance, heavy highway drives.
But now, let's look at the alternative powertrains that are totally shaking up the market. First up is CNG, or compressed natural gas. Now, this acts as a biofuel option, meaning you can actually switch between petrol and CNG right on the fly, and it offers some incredibly cheap running costs. Then, of course, we have the EV, or electric vehicle, which just completely rips up the playbook. It's driven purely by a battery and an electric motor, zero emissions, and absolutely no petrol or diesel required, ever.
Okay, let's dive into this grand comparison. There's a really interesting inverse relationship here between purchase prices and running costs. Petrol is cheap to buy up front, but man, it gets expensive to run daily. EVs are the exact opposite. They have the highest upfront cost, but they are the absolute cheapest to run day to day. It perfectly captures that classic penny-wise narrative, you know? The cheapest car to buy off the lot is very often the most expensive to actually run over its lifespan.
Moving right along to Section 2. Running costs and maintenance, or as I like to call it, the real price tag.
Let's anchor your expectations with the harsh reality here. Running a traditional petrol car is going to burn a pretty significant hole in your pocket. We're talking somewhere around 6 to 8 rupees for every single kilometer you drive. If you have a long daily commute, well, that adds up incredibly fast.
Now compare that directly to an electric vehicle. Get this, you're looking at just 1 to 2 rupees per kilometer. Yeah, you heard that right. That stark contrast in savings for your daily commute completely changes the math on your monthly budget.
And the thing is, those EV savings continue well beyond the fuel pump. When it comes to maintenance requirements, EVs sit comfortably at very low. Why? Because there's simply no traditional combustion engine to repair. No oil changes, no spark plugs, no complex exhaust systems to worry about. This is a complete contrast to diesel cars, which have notoriously high maintenance demands just because of all those heavy-duty parts.
That brings us to Section 3, performance and convenience, exploring the daily trade-offs.
Now, what's really interesting here is the unique trade-off narrative with CNG. Yes, the pros are fantastic, much cheaper running costs, and it's far more eco-friendly than petrol or diesel. But you've got to look at the cons. You severely sacrifice acceleration, the power is just noticeably lower. And because of that massive gas cylinder sitting in the back, your boot space is heavily reduced. So, you save great money, but you lose out heavily on practicality.
So the crucial point is how these other three actually feel to drive. Petrol gives you a super smooth drive with fast, responsive acceleration. Diesel gives you that superior torque, effortlessly pulling heavy loads and cruising down highways. But an EV, it gives you instant power delivery. Literally, the moment you touch the pedal, it goes. It delivers an incredibly smooth and completely silent ride that honestly feels entirely different from anything with a traditional engine.
However, we absolutely have to talk about convenience because the refueling reality is pretty stark. With petrol and diesel, fuel is available everywhere, instantly. You're in and out in maybe 3 minutes. But for CNG and EV, you're dealing with limited infrastructure. You have to be mentally prepared to face long lines at CNG gas stations, or hunt around for limited charging stations and deal with slow charging times for EVs. Basically, you're trading your time for money.
Let's shift gears to Section 4, environment and future trends, and look at the road ahead.
The environmental impact differences between these fuels are just massive.
Looking at the pollution index, diesel is towering way up there at 90, producing the most pollution by far. And that's exactly why it's under such heavy regulatory scrutiny right now and even facing bans in certain cities. Petrol is lower at 60, while CNG drops all the way down to a relatively clean 20.
And the market is definitely reacting to this data. According to insights from the Times of India, the writing is kind of on the wall. We're seeing a marked decline in traditional petrol and diesel futures. At the exact same time, EV and CNG adoption is rising rapidly across the country, fueled heavily by active government promotion and green fuel subsidies. So alternative vehicles are no longer just a niche, they're the definitive future of driving.
All right, here we go. Section 5, your perfect car match, the final verdict.
I want to speak directly to you right now. Based on your actual lifestyle, if you drive mainly in the city and drive less overall, buy petrol. If you drive a lot and cover long distances frequently, diesel is for sure still your best workhorse. But if you're looking for pure everyday savings and want to keep your running costs as low as possible, you must choose CNG. And if you care deeply about the environment, hate paying for fuel, and really want to embrace the future, an EV is your ultimate match.
Let's distill this entire explainer down to these 4 ultra-simple rules of thumb so you can confidently make your financial decision today. Ready? Petrol equals easy but expensive. Diesel equals long distance and power. CNG equals cheap but weaker. And EV equals the future and low cost. Just memorize these 4 rules, and honestly, your car buying stress will instantly disappear.
I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. With the rapid rise of EVs and CNG, are traditional petrol and diesel cars just destined for the scrapyard? Is investing heavily in a petrol or diesel car today a long-term mistake given the unstoppable rise of alternative green fuels? It's a massive question you need to ask yourself before signing that next check. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep asking the hard questions about the road ahead.